What's the worst thing you can do to a save file in Pokemon? No, really, what is it? Any fans of Pikasprey will be familiar with his softlock picking series. Essentially, finding creative, cruel, and unexpected ways of putting a save file in an almost unplayable state. The key word there is almost. Because these terrible scenarios do have an escape, it's just purposefully designed to be as slow and painful as possible. This is cruel. What is even more cruel is to find a softlock setup that seems to be possible to escape and would bait a smart player into trying to escape it, but actually is indeed impossible. On that note, we're going to be solving the mystery of the worst softlock I know. We start off as the victim. We must either escape the trap or prove that it cannot be escaped. We open a save file in Pokemon XD, noticing the game is nearly over, with 82 Shadow Pokemon snagged. The save file opens in the research lab. This is a bit concerning, but also gives us some hope, as we can access a PC. The PC reveals nothing, and the purified chamber also reveals nothing. This must mean one thing: the person who created the save file, the trapper, had purified every Shadow Pokemon before releasing all of them. All of them except one. We have one Pokemon left in the party, TOTK. But it seems the trapper has made a mistake, because we have plenty of money and plenty of Pokeballs. In XD, as well as Shadow Pokemon, you can encounter a small but useful selection of wild Pokemon, and these can be encountered infinitely. Whatever the trapper has planned here can probably be outsmarted by this. It might take some time to catch a wild Pokemon and level it up, but with access to Colosseums and Mount Battle, it's unlikely this grind would be more than a few hours. In XD, we also don't have to worry about HM moves, so a traditional no surf softlock isn't going to work here. Let's just go and find a wild Pokemon then. Huh, it's Eagun, the joke old man character who can't write emails. Eagun wants to battle. Now, most Pokemon games don't force you into a double battle when you only have one Pokemon left, but XD does actually still force this on the player. Eagun leads off with 2 level 45 Pichus, as we send out our level 26 TOTK. TOTK obviously cannot win this fight. We notice that the trapper has removed some of Shadow Togepi's default moves and replaced them with Metronome instead. TOTK is of course also shiny to waste a bit more time on animations. No matter, we lose, as expected, and we're sent back to our room in the lab. If we exit, Eagun is still there, and he still wants to battle. This old man will never leave. The protagonist is in the postgame, meaning they've literally saved the entire region, and it seems this old man is going to bully us forever, while constantly telling us to take the fight seriously. Okay, buddy. So what can we do? The smart thing to do would be to start a new save file, but the rules of this softlock challenge forbid us from doing that until we can prove that the escape is impossible. To start, we should probably explore the lab to eliminate some options. Could there be another gift Pokemon here? No. Is there a way to buy something like an X special defense? No. Can we somehow dodge Eagun? No, he's literally gatekeeping the only possible exit. There are a lot of NPCs in the lab. Do any of them actually do anything? No. What about trading? Let's say this is a GameCube save file. Unfortunately, trading with a game like Pokemon Emerald requires us to be in Phoenix City. We can't get there without beating Eagun. It really seems like the only way out here is to beat Eagun. Let's pause here and shift strategy. Let's consider the entire thing from the trapper's perspective. The trapper seemingly didn't spend much time setting this up. While purifying and releasing all the Shadow Pokemon sounds extreme, the Purified Chamber does this very quickly in XD anyway, and it can be done immediately after the final boss. We are stuck with TOTK, but Shadow Togepi is level 25 in this game. The trapper just leveled it up once, evolving it, and then taught it Metronome and removed its other attack. We can do a quick internet search, and guess he most likely watched saltedneos' video here, talking about this exact softlock in Pokemon XD. And this is where we start to get a bit concerned. See, softlocking the player here in a way that is literally impossible to escape is rather simple. The player could just get stuck with a Pinecco that only knows the move Explosion. As saltedneos pointed out, this would clearly be impossible to escape. It is a bit concerning then that this isn't that exact softlock. If the trapper knew how to set this up, they certainly could have known how to set up the Pinecco version. So why do it this way? In other words, why Togetic? Togetic itself is a much lower level than the enemy Pichu, but Togetic has naturally good special bulk. The Togetic we've been stuck with has a lax nature, reducing its special defense. Maybe that's a hint. Maybe we're supposed to think that sometimes we can survive Thunderbolt, but in reality we can't. See, the enemy Pichu that Eagun has have Thunder and Thunderbolt respectively. A few tests here prove that Eagun will always use these moves, and so the enemy AI is always going to go for the kill. Looking at Togetic's stats closely, things start to get a bit suspicious. Our Togetic has just enough HP and special defense to survive Thunderbolt. Weirdly, our defense is also higher than our special defense. But we really do only just survive Thunderbolt. Let's go back to the battle with Eagun. First, if Thunder hits, Togetic will faint. There's a 70% chance to immediately lose the battle. Second, the other Pichu is going to use Thunderbolt. Over 94% of the time, Thunderbolt kills Togetic. And even if it doesn't kill, it might also paralyze Togetic. So in about 1 in 60 games, Togetic can survive turn 1. In real life terms, this is about once every 50 minutes. What then? Metronome is a strange move, isn't it? It's a move that then uses another random move from the game, except it isn't actually random. Of the 354 moves in Generation 3, only 337 of them can be called from Metronome. One of the moves that we can't call is Mirror Coat, and this is sad because Mirror Coat would absolutely kill Pichu here so long as Togetic survives. But we're only level 26, and looking at the stats again, we have the lowest possible attack and special attack. The chance of Metronome calling Earthquake is just simply 1 in 337. But, well, Earthquake doesn't knock out enemy Pichu, even with the maximum damage roll, not unless it also gets a critical hit. If Togetic had the ability Hustle, Earthquake could kill without the critical hit, but the trapper seems to have thought about that and made sure that we have Serene Grace instead. So the best move to call here is actually Flail, and Flail will indeed always knock out Pichu. On that note, here is every move that could knock out Pichu. If we add up all of them, then the probability of killing with a single Metronome is just under 1%. And we will only get one chance. Eagun is gonna kill us on the following turn. It seems like this is our new hell. There's about a 1 in 60 chance to survive turn 1, and then about a 1 in 100 chance to knock out a Pichu. Overall, about a 1 in 6,000 chance for the game to feature a Pichu knockout. Because of the shiny animation, an average match takes around 50 seconds. And so, the average time taken to knock out a single Pichu is 83 hours. If we were to treat this like a full-time job, that's just over 2 weeks. But, it gets worse. Much worse. In modern games, Pichu would get 952 experience points, so we'd only have to knock out 2 of them to level up. But this is Generation 3, and before the experience point change. This Pichu is only going to give 405 experience points. There's no way to improve this. The Lucky Egg is trapped in the part of the post-game that we can't reach. To level up, Togetic needs just under 1700 experience points. So to gain a single level here, we have to knock out 5 Pichus. That's going to take over 400 hours. Except, it gets worse. What happens after we level up? It may seem like our situation improves, but not by much. Our chance to survive Thunderbolts does go up, yes, but we no longer always survive on 1 HP, and that means Flail now does less damage on average than it did at level 26. And our chance to knock out Pichu actually decreases a little bit. And also, surviving more often means our average match time actually increases. And it gets even worse. See, XP gain in Pokemon is exponential. As we gain more levels, we need more and more EXP points to level up, which means we need to knock out more and more Pichus. Level 26 to level 27 took 5 Pichu knockouts, but level 26 to level 41 is going to take a total of 102 Pichu knockouts. This is going to take years, and the worst part is we have to pay attention for all of it. This isn't a task we can easily automate with a button masher. It also isn't something we only have to spend 1 minute per day checking. We have to be constantly running back and forth and picking moves in the battle. But we're making progress, right? We can escape here, right? I said level 41 for a reason. How long does it take to reach level 41? I don't know. A generous estimate seems like 3,000 hours. If I paid someone to escape this full time, it may cost around $50,000 for that section alone. Anyway, at level 41, TOTK learns its final move, Double Edge. Sick of Metronome, the player might be tempted to replace Metronome with Double Edge here right now. Double Edge, of course, is a massive upgrade. We no longer have to rely on the randomness from Metronome to knock out Eagun's Pichus. And we do need this consistency gain, because we still have to knock out a massive number of enemy Pichus. How many Pichus can we knock out per game now? Sadly, still less than 1 on average. We are still slower than Pichu, even though knocking out Pichus has been giving us speed EVs. And both Pichus still have attacks, and if they both hit their attacks, we still faint before gaining any experience points. The next big improvement comes at level 46. We now speed tidy enemy Pichus, meaning we can knock one out more consistently. Sadly, it's definitely only 1 at most, because Eagun's next Pokemon to switch in here is a level 50 Pikachu, and Pikachu easily outspeeds us and has a Light Ball to double its special attack. We will never survive. It's really important to not be tempted to use Metronome here. Most of the time, Metronome just calls a random, useless move like Growl or Leech Life. Double Edge is certainly far more consistent. But it's at level 48 when we notice something rather concerning. By now, we've knocked out 184 Pichus. Stat training in Pokemon is quite straightforward. You gain more stats based on the Pokemon you've been knocking out. We've only knocked out Pichus, so after 184 Pichus, we should have gained 184 EVs in speed, and this should give us a final speed value of 65, even with the worst possible speed TOTK. But we only have a speed value of 62 at level 48. Why? It's true that a perfectly bad TOTK will have an IV of 0 in every important stat for this scenario. But the Trapper couldn't actually leave us with that exact TOTK. That exact TOTK, with a lax nature, to reduce its special defense, would always faint to Thunderbolt. It would have made the escape literally impossible. This TOTK therefore must have gained stat points in HP and special defense in some way. And the only way we could have hit a speed of 62 at level 48 is if we also hit the EV cap. Pokemon can only have 510 EVs in total. We must have already hit this somehow. Let's enter the mind of the Trapper and try and deduce how this could have gone. The Trapper started off with a level 25 Togepi, meaning they only had 1,560 experience points to work with until level 26. 4 HP ups and 4 Zincs could have been bought and used to make sure that Thunderbolt didn't always kill TOTK at level 26. That's 80 EVs wasted without gaining any experience points. The Trapper would also know that EVs only ever give stats in multiples of 4. Therefore they would have put 3 EVs into every single stat except speed, perfectly wasting all of them. This brings the total wasted EVs up to 95, with barely any experience gained. But think back to how weirdly high our defense stat was at level 26. An obvious goal for the Trapper here would be to max out TOTK's defense EVs in just a single level, somehow. TOTK's defense stat is nearly useless for this battle since all the enemies have special moves. Using the vitamin Iron alone to boost defense won't work because in Generation 3 these will cap out at just 100. After a full set of every possible repeatable enemy, the Pokemon that gives the most defense while giving the fewest EXP points is this level 12 Pineco from Mount Battle. With EXP share on an ally and full switching, and the Macho Brace, TOTK could gain just 6 EXP points per EV, easily enough to max out the defense EVs. This brings the total wasted EVs to 347. With only 163 EVs left to gain in speed, our speed gets truncated down to just 62. Is this a huge problem? No, but it does mean we'll have to spend a lot more levels being outsped by enemy Pikachu than we should, meaning we will level up slower. It also means we're never going to outspeed Eagun's Raichu until level 93. Still, at this position, it feels like we're going to have the last laugh and win. While leveling up is slower than it should be, it's still easier and faster than it was back before level 41 when we were stuck using Metronome. Although we do have to knock out nearly 2,000 Pichus to get there, it's probably only about 28 hours to reach level 100. And finally, at level 100, we're faster than Eagun's entire team. We can easily one-shot all of them with Double Edge. It took thousands of hours to get this far, so this is the escape, right? Maybe it's easier for me to just show you what happens in this battle, because TOTK is not going to win. Double Edge is a recoil move. We're forced to take 196 HP in recoil while using it. Because this is a doubles battle, we're always going to be attacked by the enemy that we don't hit on that turn. Now, if we were only facing a team of Pichus, we could win with Double Edge and Wish. Wish could out-heal the damage taken on a single turn. But with Light Ball Pikachu and Raichu in the back, we can't take this turn off. We're just going to take too much damage and faint. And it's even worse than that. Eagun's entire team has static. That's 30% to be paralysed every single time we use Double Edge. And a Pokemon we don't attack is still going to smash us with an electric move, which will also have a chance to paralyse. It would be nice if we could keep the Thunder Pichu alive, since Thunder can miss, but unfortunately that Pichu also has the move Thunder Wave. So is it over? Was the thousands of hours spent levelling all for nothing? Is escape actually impossible? Can we give up? Can we leave? Metronome is a strange move, isn't it? I hope you didn't actually delete it back at level 41 when you learned Double Edge. In some ways, it's always been possible to escape with Metronome. You just needed to get unbelievably lucky. It may seem like Metronome spam at level 100 could win through repeated moves like Earthquake. Knocking out both Pokemon on the same turn means TOTK avoids taking any damage. The odds of this happening are extremely low though, given how many precise moves we'd need in a row. This could be months of resetting, and we can do better. The key is Conversion 2. Conversion 2 is a bizarre move. It changes your type into a favourable type from the move you last got hit by. This brings us to our new strategy. We start off the match by using Double Edge on the Thunder Pichu, and getting hit by Thunderbolt from the other Pichu. Then, on turn 2, we attempt to use Conversion 2 from Metronome. We become a new type that resists or is immune to the last move used against us. And for us, that's Thunderbolt. So TOTK randomly becomes Electric, Grass, Dragon or Ground type here. We can then start using Double Edge to knock out Eagun's Pokemon. It may seem like we still use to recoil, and we would, but using Wish to heal can avoid this loss. That is, if you chose to learn Wish at level 31. While Raichu has Brick Break, we can actually twist a Trapper's EV training on TOTK to our advantage here. Brick Break now does very little damage, so long as we are at a high enough level. The combination of Double Edge, Conversion 2 from Metronome, and Wish, and maybe also Safeguard to avoid paralysis hacks, are the only truly safe way through this fight. But it requires a vision and patience to start off with Double Edge in this match, and also requires the understanding that Double Edge alone cannot win. Of course, getting this scenario is not very likely. Metronome into Conversion 2 is still a 1 in 337 chance, and we might still lose if we don't get Ground type conversion. It's also very easy to be permanently trapped here. The victim has to know they need to learn Wish and Double Edge while also not removing Metronome during leveling up. This may sound obvious now, but the victim had to calculate this entire endgame all the way back at the start in order to ensure the right moves were learned and the right moves were kept. Honestly, just leaving the player with TOTK alone would be really bad. Leaving it with only Metronome is worse. Leaving it with perfectly bad IVs is even worse. And denying the player access to Hyper Potions and Leftovers is diabolical. The thousands of hours spent grinding, only for the reward to be hundreds or thousands of attempts attempting Metronome into Conversion 2 to give the player just a chance to escape, is wonderfully evil. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but a lot of credit goes to both pikasprey and saltedneos, for both the Softlock series and for this specific Eagun discovery respectively. And my favourite part of this Softlock is actually the story context. The in-game child protagonist has just saved the world, and right after celebrating at the lab, Eagun shows up and just mercilessly destroys them for years on end, refusing to ever let them leave and refusing to ever show any mercy. And all the NPCs in the lab who congratulated the protagonist and called him a hero just sit back, watch and let this happen.